This weekend we have 20 nations going to battle in 10 international rugby games across 10 different countries. It's going to be very exciting, and I'm going to cover them all here on Inside Rugby. Hello and welcome to Inside Rugby. My name is Mark, and on this channel I cover international rugby games all across the world, including all the World Cup games and the current warm-up games that we're about to go into this weekend. And it's going to be an epic weekend of rugby across the world. We have no fewer than 20 nations taking part in 10 games across about a 24-hour period, and it's going to be really exciting stuff. A lot of these games are critical games for players to earn their spot in this year's Rugby World Cup in France, starting on September the 8th. So these players, a lot of these players got their last chance to show their coaching and selecting teams what they've got to offer for their nations as we head into this year's Rugby World Cup. So in this video I'm going to cover off the games that are taking place, give my predictions, along with sharing with you what you think the teams are going to win according to my community page on this channel. And if you haven't checked out the community page, head on over there now and register your vote for the games for this weekend. Okay, let's start off with the big one. The Australian Wallabies taking on the New Zealand All Blacks in Dunedin in New Zealand. It's the second Bledisloe Cup game after the All Blacks convincingly won the first last weekend in Melbourne in Australia. And a lot of you are predicting an All Black win this weekend, as I am as well. Eddie Jones has a lot to do with this Wallabies team, and so far he hasn't been able to find the right combination. The Wallabies, of course, have had 3 losses so far this international season, and they'll be hoping to put that right in Dunedin this weekend. But I'm afraid in my books, and many of yours, that's not going to happen, and the All Blacks are going to win that particular game. Now, what's really interesting for me this weekend is that quite a few of these teams I haven't seen play at all or for a very long period of time. So it's going to be interesting to see what state their rugby is in as we head into this World Cup. And one of those teams is Chile, and they're playing against an Argentinian 15 this weekend in Chile. So that's going to be a really interesting game to see who wins that. I'm picking the Argentinian 15 are going to win this game. And so do you. You think that as well, according to our poll on the community page. So we'll have to see how Chile go in this game and see if there's any really standout players that we need to be watching out for in the Rugby World Cup. Okay, next up is the clash between Uruguay and Namibia, and this is being played in Uruguay. And Uruguay's an interesting team. They've had a couple of upset games where they've beaten high-ranked teams in their history before, so I suspect they're going to be able to take care of Namibia this weekend. You're agreeing with me on that one. You think Uruguay are going to win this game as well, quite comfortably over Namibia, so we'll have to wait and see how that one goes. Then we have Romania playing the USA in Romania, and the USA is starting to get better and better. The game is expanding and exploding rapidly in the United States. We're seeing the Major League Rugby attracting players from all over the world. And as we head into the World Cup in the US in 2031, I suspect that the game's only going to grow more and more. At this stage, they're not quite strong enough, I don't think, to beat any of the European second-tier teams. And I think Romania are going to be able to do the job on the US this weekend. Let's have a look at what you think. And you're saying the same thing. You think Romania is going to take care of the United States this weekend. Interested to see what you think of the scores for these games, because do you think there's going to be a wide gulf between these teams, or do you think that teams like the USA are catching up to higher ranked teams and are be able to give them closer games? I'd be interested to see what you think on that element. But there we go, Romania taking care of the United States. We both agree on that one. The next one's a really interesting one between Japan and Fiji. This is being played in Japan, and the cherry blossoms are always difficult to knock over in Japan. This is actually the last game in the Pacific Nations Cup this year, and both teams are being playing very, very well. But I'm tipping Japan are going to win this game. You've said that you think Fiji's going to win it. I think Japan are really hard to roll over at home. They've been a little bit unfortunate with the card situation in the last couple of games, and I think they're going to play their best game in this last game of the series. So I'm picking Japan to beat Fiji this weekend in Japan. And next up is the two Pacific Island brothers, Samoa against Tonga. I've been quite impressed at different phases with Samoa's play this year. They come up against Tonga, who haven't really raised to the expectation I thought they were going to play, so I'm picking Samoa to win this game over Tonga, as you are as well. So I think this is going to be a very clear win for Samoa. I think there's going to be about 20-point gap in this particular game, but we'll have to wait and see. This one's being played in Samoa as well, so should be interesting. Then we get on to some of the bigger nations again, and Ireland are taking on Italy at the Aviva Stadium in Dublin, and this is going to be a really interesting game to see how Ireland hit the ground running or not this particular year. And Italy, of course, have already had a couple of games, so it's going to be interesting to see what they bring to this particular match. I suspect that Ireland are going to be too strong for Italy all over the park, and they're going to have a comfortable win. But I think Italy are going to be there to make this some kind of a contest. You think Ireland's going to win comfortably as well, according to the poll on the community page. So all eyes are turning on Ireland at home to have a successful win against Italy this weekend. Next up, Wales versus England, and perhaps the most difficult game to call this weekend for a couple of reasons. Both teams are unknown, as England are putting in what a lot of people are calling a B team and giving those group of players an opportunity to be selected for the World Cup. There's two ways this could go for a lot of these England players. Either they're already being counted in the World Cup group, or they've got no chance to get there, or they have to perform this weekend to show Steve Borthwick that they're capable of playing in that England World Cup side. So a lot of not familiar names in the England lineup this weekend, and I think this is going to play into the hands of Wales. Even though Wales are putting out a fairly inexperienced team, Warren Gatland seems to be very impressed with this Wales squad. He's got high hopes of them and expectations, as we always do for Wales when it comes to rugby. But it's going to be an interesting game, and I'm actually going to go across the trend of the community page, and I'm going to say that Wales are going to get the win at the Principality Stadium this weekend against England. It's going to be close, and maybe a point or two in it, but I think Wales are going to get up and beat England this weekend. So let me know what you think on that game. The community poll is saying that England are going to win narrowly over Wales, but I think this is a game that could go either way, and I'm falling on the side of the Welsh at this point. Next up, we've got Scotland hosting France at Murrayfield, a fantastic rugby venue, but not the fortress that it once was for the Scottish team. Gregor Townsend and his group are trying to build momentum as they go into the World Cup. They know they're going to be the ones that could cause the major upset in their particular pool. And I'm going to be making some videos over the next couple of weeks about all the different pools within the Rugby World Cup. So stay tuned right here on Inside Rugby for that. So this weekend, I think France are going to have too much for Scotland at Murrayfield. I'm picking them to be quite easy winners by about 15 to 20 points. But I think Scotland are going to give them a bit of a go in the first 15 or 20 minutes. But I think over 80 minutes of intense international rugby, France is just going to have too much for this Scottish team. So it's going to be interesting again to see how the French hit the ground running, and as they finish up their preparation going into the Rugby World Cup. Don't forget, they're playing the All Blacks in their first game. That's going to be an epic encounter, and it's going to set up this Rugby World Cup really, really nicely. So let me know who you think is going to win. The community poll says that France is going to beat Scotland. Are you one of the people out there that thinks Scotland can actually get up and win this game? Let me know in the comments. Then the last game I'm looking at in this video is Argentina against South Africa. Yes, Argentina are hosting South Africa in Buenos Aires this weekend, and it's going to be a fantastic encounter after the close-fought battle in Johannesburg last weekend. Even though my poll says that South Africa are going to win this game, I think that's going to be the case as well. I really like the look of the South African team. And again, the desperation for a lot of these players to be included in Jacques Nienaber's World Cup squad being named this week is going to be immense. And I think they're going to stand up and get the job done in Argentina. I suspect the first 20-25 minutes is going to be very close. I think the Argentinians are going to come out with all guns blazing in that first period of play. But I think over the course of 80 minutes, the Springboks are going to have too much for the Argentinians with this particular Springbok team. They've got a lot of mobility around their pack, and they've got some real weapons out wide in their backline for the South Africans to score plenty of points in this game. So you also think on the community page that the Springboks are going to have a win over Argentina this weekend. Let me know what you think the score is going to be in this one. It's going to be a very interesting one. So there we go, we've got an epic weekend coming up of international rugby. We've got 10 international games happening, 20 nations involved. It's the last warm-up game for a lot of these players before they get selected or not for their nations for the Rugby World Cup starting on September the 8th. So expect a lot of those players to be putting it all on the line this particular weekend. So let me know if you think there's going to be any upsets in that lot. It's going to be really interesting to see. Don't forget to drop me all your comments on how you think these teams are going to play. And if you're more familiar than I am with some of these lesser teams, let me know who some of the players I should be watching out for as we look at these encounters across the weekend. Okay, that's it for me for this video. We've got an epic weekend of rugby coming up. I hope you all enjoy it. Don't forget to leave me your comments about the previews of each of these games, and I'll check in with those over the weekend. I'll be back early next week with a full review on many of these games in detail right here on Inside Rugby. So if you can, hit that subscribe button and follow the journey. We're going to have an epic warm-up series leading into this year's Rugby World Cup, which is also going to be epic in France. Okay, until next time everyone, stay well, stay healthy, and enjoy your rugby. See you soon on Inside Rugby.